fuel choice that even rivals can agree on? Now that's worth the hype. Cheaper, cleaner, and homegrown. Pump it up with unleaded 88.
Shinedown. Dance Kid Dance Tour. Dance Kid Dance. Live in Des Moines. Wells Fargo Arena, Friday, April 25th. I need your attention. With special guests, Beartooth and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at HighVTix.com. It's about to get heavy. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
Da 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 da. Wait, sorry. We don't want to get trademarked. My bad. Can we restart, Aiden? Welcome to Bigger Than 12 here on Iowa Everywhere. It is the best day of the year. It's Christmas combined with Christmas Eve, combined with Thanksgiving, combined with, I don't know, a 75-degree day in the middle of the summer. It is just the best time of year. It's March Madness. I'm so pump it up to be here. What's up, Derek?
How's it going, man? It's March Madness time. It's St. Patty's Day. I don't own anything green outside of a camo hat, and of course my camo Crocs, which I am wearing, by the way. But I do have something here for you guys. I've got a little bit of green beer here.
Oh,
so I decided to have a little fun with that because I don't have anything else green, so I figured I might as well dye the beer green.
So I've got a green pullover quarter zip. But I own a lot of quarter zips, and I run into a problem with this one where the collar just doesn't stay down. And it looks really bad if it's on camera, and it gets really annoying. So I'm going to be on. After work, I just changed into a neutral white. So I'm sorry to the Irishmen that are watching this show. Thank you who are watching the show. But I'm sorry. I'm deeply, deeply sorry. And white's a neutral color, so I don't want to be showing any biases towards the Baylors of the world or any other green schools that qualified for the NCAA tournament. Honestly, how many are there? I've got my bracket up here.
Oh.
Haven't filled it out yet. I
printed it out.
So we'll get into bracket etiquette. Don't you worry. The way that I do my bracket is I fill one out immediately, like minutes after the selection show, and then I delete it. Like I just do it, delete it. I kind of get one out of my system, and then I kind of fill it out as the week goes by. And you fill out one bracket. That's all you get. One, no more, no less. You have to print it out, fold it, and put it in your wallet. If you come to me and be like, I picked Mercer to beat Duke. Look how cool I am. Or I picked Fairleigh Dickinson to beat Purdue in one of my 17 brackets. You're a fraud. A total fraud. You have to take the bracket out of your wallet and show me, or else it doesn't count.
Who in the hell is carrying brackets around in their wallet? Do people still print out brackets?
It's the only way to do it, man. I mean, you fill it out on ESPN, you fill it out on CBS, wherever. You submit it into your bracket groups, and then you print it out, and you keep a highlighter and a red pen on you the whole week, the whole month. That's how it goes.
Kind of just check my phone. I feel like it's a lot easier just to check your phone. You can pull out your phone.
It's no fun.
Oh, come on, man. You're living in 2005. You weren't even born in 2005.
Oh, I wish I was around in 2005 so I could see the Astros just get their butt kicked in the World Series.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. We were talking baseball off the show before.
Always taking shots.
My bad. We should probably just get started. WealthCharter Retirement and Tax is just probably fuming at us right now because we know what they want to hear. We know what you guys want to hear. We're going to talk about the bracket. We're going to talk all things March Madness. Before we do that, of course, we'd love to thank our friends at WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. They present Bigger Than 12 here on Iowa Everywhere. Tax season, I'm not going to say it's too late, But like, if you haven't started on your taxes now, it's getting dangerously close to being too late. If you haven't started, Tim Hawkins and his team would love to help you out. They also specialize in retirement planning and everything that comes with that. So thank you so much to WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. Visit WealthCharterRetirement.com to schedule an appointment at their Ankeny office. We've got a good show in store for you today. We are going to go team by team, all 68. No, I'm kidding. We're going to go team by team in the Big 12. Their draws, what we would consider a success versus a disappointment in their tournament. We're going to do a little fun draft game, and then we'll close up with a little bit of Big 12 tournament stuff, not game to game, but more so attendance and everything that goes around it in Kansas City. So I think it's only natural if we just start at the top. The Houston Cougars are a 1 seed in the Midwest region. They will play SIEU in Wichita.
Who the hell is that?
On Thursday. I actually know a golfer at
really
at SIEU. Preston Bealey from Indianola, solid golfer. I learned over winter break when I ran into him that there's 2 different SIUs. So
I know the Salukis.
Yes, these are not the Salukis.
Okay, I know the Salukis.
What are your initial thoughts on Houston's draw heading into March?
I think it's pretty favorable, but that's what happens when you get a 1 seed. Houston earned an easier draw because of what they've accomplished in the Big 12 this season. I mean, Big 12 regular season champs, tournament champions, like they have earned this. And to be honest, like I said earlier, I've never even heard of Southern Illinois' Edwardsville until Sunday, until the bracket came out. So again, I know the Salukis, but not this team. Then you get the winner possibly of Gonzaga and Georgia. Probably lean Gonzaga maybe there, but that's here nor there. But I would easily favor them over either one of those teams. I think the path to a Sweet 16 for this team is easy money. Then maybe you get Purdue down the road, but I think the path is really there for them to meet, maybe Tennessee in the Elite 8. So I really do like their path here in this region.
I'm going to go bold. We'll start bold early. I think Houston makes the Final Four.
Okay.
But I think Gonzaga is by far their toughest game. Gonzaga is, they're perennially a 1, 2, or 3 seed. They had a bit of a down year. The analytics absolutely adore them still. They are 9th in KenPom. That's ahead of Iowa State. That's ahead of pretty much any other team in this region outside of Houston and Tennessee. I know Tennessee's good, but Rick Barnes coaches them. I don't see them making a run. Rick Barnes has really had nothing but struggles in March for a really long time. Kentucky is maybe the most injured team in the entire bracket. They're really good when healthy, but they have lost a few guards for the season. And Purdue, they're a good three-point shooting team, but Houston defends the 3 well. I really love this draw for Houston, but it wouldn't shock me if they got knocked off by the Zags. I think that highly of Gonzaga, and honestly, I probably would have picked Gonzaga against any other 1 seed other than Houston.
Wow. Very high on the Zags.
So with that draw, I think if they do get past Gonzaga, I think the Midwest is the easiest region. With that being said, what would be considered a disappointment for Houston?
I'm kind of with you on the Final Four train. Like as a 1 seed, I think it's always kind of Final Four or bust. There's a reason why they have that 1 next to their name. We've talked about this Houston team all season long for a reason. They've lost just 1 game since December, and they were by far the best team in the Big 12. To me, this is a national caliber championship team, and anything short of a Final Four, to me at least, would be a disappointment. And this is a program under Sampson that's been knocking on the door of a title now, and I think it's time to really bust that door down. Like this is their year to at least make it to San Antonio.
It's hard to say they're playing their best basketball at the best time of year because they've been playing their best basketball now for dang near 3 months. The hope is Juwan Roberts is healthy and that it was more of a precaution for him to sit out the Big 12 championship game. That's my worry, is if Roberts isn't at full strength or isn't good to go, this team, of course, wouldn't be the same. But with that being said, even if he needs to sit out a game or two or play on a minutes restriction, I still think Houston is the best team in the country and should be able to sustain that for a couple rounds. But of course, if they want to reach their national championship ceiling, they're going to need Roberts. The next team, Texas Tech. They're a 3 seed, also in Wichita, not in the same pod as Houston. Tech will play UNC Wilmington, and they are in the West region. West region. What are your thoughts on Tech's draw?
I don't think it's as favorable maybe as some other teams in the conference. I think UNC Wilmington is a game they should easily win, but then you're staring down the winner of that Drake and Missouri game in the second round, and both of those teams I think are capable of really beating anyone. Those are two really good teams for a second round matchup. Then maybe down the road you could likely play a combination of Kansas, Arkansas, or St. John's in the Sweet 16. I mean, for a 3 seed, I felt like Tech kind of got a tough draw here.
So I do agree with you. That's a tough 6-11. That's probably the toughest 6-11. I do think Tech is quite a bit better than both of those teams. And the thing with both of Missouri and Drake is they're pretty one-dimensional. Like, Mizzou, they're going to win a game if they hit a bunch of shots. It's as simple as that. Drake slows the game down. They play the slowest tempo in the sport. So they want to make it a close game based off of possessions alone, essentially. In most years, I think Tech is a 1 or a 2 seed. I think we are seeing a abnormally top-heavy NCAA tournament this year, and I do think Tech should be able to handle either of those teams. And then I think St. John's is the weakest of the 2 seeds. So I do like that is Tech's potential Sweet 16 matchup, and St. John's can't shoot. They're very well coached. They defend very well. They play hard. But if you're Tech, I honestly do like the draw if you can get out of Wichita, which that's a big if, of course.
Got a question. If you're Texas Tech right now and you're looking at the potential second round matchup, do you want Drake or do you want Missouri here?
I think I want Drake.
Okay.
I cover Drake day to day almost. I respect the hell out of him. But if there's a bad matchup for Drake, it's any team with a big man. It's any team that can rebound. JT Toppin is maybe the best big man in the country. And Drake is just, they're really limited size-wise and athletic-wise. So I as good of a story as Drake is, I think Tech could handle them pretty easy. Missouri, we've seen it before in an Iowa State uniform. Caleb Grill is capable of going off for 10 threes in a game really at any given moment. They are a very boom or bust team. And that's what you worry about when you're a high seed is, well, do we want to deal with a team like that? So I would rather deal with Drake, I think.
Gotcha. I wanted to ask because I know you covered Drake a little bit, and then obviously with Missouri and Caleb Grill, so I want to get your kind of take on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential storylines for Drake and Tech. Kevin Overton comes off the bench for Texas Tech. He was the Missouri Valley Freshman of the Year at Drake last year. Tony Perkins played at Iowa on Missouri. Caleb Grill, of course. So that's a pretty fun region. What would be considered a disappointment for Texas Tech in the NCAA tournament?
Honestly, I think if they don't make the Elite Eight, I think it would be a little disappointing for me, at least. As you know, I've put a lot of stock in this Tech team, and I've said many times on this show that this team is going to make a deep run. You know, this team's tough. They're gritty. They play hard. And there's a reason why I picked JT Toppin as my Big 12 Player of the Year, and he's gonna have to play like it for this team to get there and get where they want to go. But man, that region is tough. Getting to an Elite Eight or Final Four will not be easy to me in this bracket, but. You know, some people may not have the expectations for this team as I do, but I think anything short of an Elite Eight here for Texas Tech would be disappointing for me.
I'll go Sweet 16. I had a really tough one deciding between the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight because I think I I think I would pick Tech to go to the Elite Eight at this point and maybe even further. But I still think, considering they're in just year 2 of the Grant McCasland era, if they get to the Sweet 16 and lose a hard-fought game to St. John's, I think the season as a whole is still a success. So anything short of the Sweet 16 is a disappointment. The Sweet 16 itself it's a lukewarm thing. Elite 8 and above, you got to be ecstatic if you're a Red Raiders fan.
For sure. I just have a lot of stock in this team. I like to favor this team a lot. I really am a believer in this Tech team.
Yeah, I am too. And I think we've seen them get so much better over the course of the year. And we've seen their ceiling. I think they've probably got the best win in America outside of maybe Alabama. They went into Houston and handed the Cougars their only Big 12 loss. No doubt that's super impressive. We'll move on to Iowa State. The Cyclones are playing Lipscomb in Milwaukee. And if you're heading to Milwaukee, my gosh, if you don't stop at Freedom Tire before, you're an idiot. It's supposed to, I don't know if it's like supposed to sleet or rain or snow on Wednesday. Whatever it is, it's not supposed to be ideal. You don't want to take any chances. Stop at Freedom Tire at any locations in Ames, Altoona, Des Moines, West Des Moines, Urbandale, Quentin Crowner and his team. Quentin's a Cyclone. Maybe he'll even be up in Milwaukee cheering on the Cyclones with you. Please stop at Freedom Tire, whether you're an Iowa State fan, a Drake fan, or any Iowan. Freedom Tire does it all with tires and general car repair. The Cyclones playing Lipscomb. Before we start with the draw, should we talk Keshon Gilbert, or should we go draw first?
We can go draw first.
Okay.
We can go draw.
What do you think about Iowa State's draw?
I think compared to Texas Tech, who's also 3 seed, I would say Iowa State, got the better draw. Lipscomb right off the bat, I think shouldn't be an issue. But what I find interesting is they're going to play the winner of the Ole Miss and whoever wins that North Carolina San Diego State game because two really good teams. Ole Miss obviously has had some success this season. UNC, who we'll talk about here in a bit, getting in over West Virginia. As much as I don't like them in this tournament, I will say they do scare me a little bit. And, think about how crazy it would be if Iowa State looks over and they have to play North Carolina in the second round. Like, again, first off, UNC shouldn't be in there, but still, I think that would be pretty crazy. And then you get a potential showdown with either, I think, Marquette or Michigan State in the Sweet 16. So it's doable. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a cakewalk or that easy, but it's definitely doable to get a path maybe to that Sweet 16 or further.
Lipscomb, as far as 14 seeds go, is a tough matchup on paper. They shoot and make a lot of threes. They don't turn the ball over, which is a good recipe against the Iowa State defense, and they're super experienced. They've got the ASUN Player of the Year. But again, they're a 14 seed for a reason. Iowa State is favored by 13.5 points for a reason, and while I think the game could be sneaky tough, Iowa State should win by double digits. I'll preface it with that. Outside of that, I really think this draw, all things considered, location, being above Wisconsin, being above Kentucky, it's a great draw. Ole Miss is tough. Really, all three of Ole Miss, North Carolina, and SDSU are pretty similar. None of them shoot a ton of threes. UNC's a decent percentage from deep. Ole Miss, they're just really solid on both sides. They don't turn it over, but they don't really turn you over. They also don't shoot it well, and they're not a great rebounding team. So they're an odd matchup to where they don't really excel in one specific area. North Carolina, they also don't really turn the ball over, which is a good recipe against the Iowa State defense, but on the other end, they don't turn opponents over a lot. And then SDSU is definitely one-dimensional. They're a great defensive team. They struggle. They struggle on the offensive side of the ball, and they shoot it really poorly, but they're great on the glass. So none of those teams on paper should terrify Iowa State too much. But I think if they get to the round of 32, any of them, Iowa State's going to have to play a B or B-plus game to move on. And if they are able to move on, Michigan State is really good. They've got Tom Izzo, but as far as 2 seeds go, they're not unbeatable. They do not shoot the ball well from 3 at all. They're not really great with the ball. They turn it over a lot. They're a good defense, and they're good on the glass, so this could be that rock fight type of game. But if you're looking to get to the Elite Eight and reach the expectation that was on the team before the season, Keshon Gilbert or not, I do think the stars are there for Iowa State to hopefully capitalize.
For sure, I agree with that. And I think it is a favorable draw with Michigan State as a 2 seed. Like, they're a very beatable 2 seed in my opinion as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Izzo, I feel like he typically either goes to the Final Four or loses early. So there's a shot you could get a rematch with Marquette in there. There's a shot you could get a rematch with, or not a rematch. I don't know the last time Iowa State played New Mexico in anything, but it's hard to talk about all these hypotheticals when the games have to be played. And that's why I'm not even going to focus on, oh my gosh, who could Iowa State possibly play in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four? I think you got to worry about getting to the second weekend first. I think you just got to
That's fair.
Get past the 2 teams that you're favored over and see what happens. That's how I'll approach it. So we'll talk Gilbert, but what would be considered a disappointment for Iowa State?
It's kind of really hard for me. You're going to get Lipsey back, but you're right about Gilbert. He's not going to play at all. And it's like, it's at some point, it's like, damn, man, like I would love to see this team fully healthy for once, but it's just not going to happen. And I hate to say it, but it could end up as a season of what ifs due to all the injuries this team has had to deal with. Of course, this team is still capable of making a deep run. So I wouldn't say it's like Final Four or bust for this team, but I think making an Elite Eight would be really great for this team. And I know Cyclone fans, some may disagree, but that's where I am with them right now. Anything short of an Elite Eight, I would say probably wouldn't be considered a great season. But I could also see a Sweet 16 being okay with some fans as well.
I do think expectations have to be reset because of the injuries. But if we're talking, like, I guess I should have clarified before we started this segment. I'm kind of judging this based off the season as a whole, not necessarily in a vacuum of the NCAA tournament. So for Iowa State, I still think if you don't make an Elite Eight, this season will be viewed at a disappointment. And that a lot of that has to do with the injuries. A lot of that has to do with, really never really being able to be in a rhythm for an extended period of time. And that sucks, but that's the reality of it. So I think I'm going to go with you there and say if this team doesn't make the Elite Eight, this season in 20 years will be looked back at as a, man, what if?
Yeah.
What if that wasn't a disappointing year?
Just sucks with the injuries, man. It really does suck. We haven't got to see this team just fully healthy for a long stretch of time.
Yeah, and you could be like, well, that's an excuse. I don't think it is. It's more just a reason. Like injuries play a factor into saying, yeah, that was a disappointing year. For me, I'm a Nuggets fan. When Jamal Murray got hurt and tore his ACL and missed 2 playoffs, those were 2 disappointing playoffs because you don't have your all-star point guard. It's not an excuse. It's just like, man, couldn't reach our ceiling without Jamal Murray. It's kind of the same deal where if Iowa State's expectations aren't met, you think, man, that just wasn't a normal Big 12 season at all. And a lot of that has to do with Keshon Gilbert. TJ Otzelberger announces that Gilbert is out for the season. First and foremost, this sucks. It sucks for all involved. It sucks for the team. It sucks for Keshon. I think this guy's a competitor. There might be more to the story than we know, but I don't think this is a guy that is holding out for money or anything like that. I get the sense in watching the team very, very closely all season long, I get the sense that this nagging injury progressively got worse and worse, which would make sense with the strain. And the worse it got, the more it affected his play, and the more it affected his play, the more it got in his head. And the more you saw him visibly frustrated on the floor, getting technical fouls, arguing with refs, turning the ball over, I think all of it, it was really hard for Gilbert to accept that if he's not healthy, he's probably not going to be the player that we saw in December. And that player we saw in December, I thought he was a first-team All-American. I was at the Marquette game. Cam Jones was one of the best players in the country coming into the year. Gilbert was hands down the best player on the floor that night. And it sucks to see Gilbert not be able to sustain that level all season long due to injury. And I think that partly has to do with the decision to sit him out, whether that's his decision or whether it's the staff's. It sucks for all involved.
Yeah, that's well said. And, he wasn't the same player even when he was playing. He was not the same guy that he was a few months ago. And that is really unfortunate because when he is fully healthy, I think I agree with you. He's one of the best players in all of college basketball. So it really is unfortunate that we're not going to get to see him play. And, you're right. Maybe that injury it went on for too long. I think it did mess with his head a little bit. But Iowa State's got to find a way to figure it out and get it done without him.
Yeah, they
have.
There's no other option at this point. The hope, if you're an Iowa State fan, I think you can assume if Tamin Lipsey's on the floor, Tamin's going to be Tamin. Like 30%, 60%, 100%. He's almost always, I feel like, going to be the same type of player. And I think it's an understandable frustration from a fan perspective to say, well, if Gilbert and Lipsey have the same injury, why is Lipsey able to play and Gilbert's not? I think a lot of that comes down to the type of players they are. Gilbert is at his best when he is attacking the rim, when he is going into the body of defenders and finishing, like really tough finishes. And that's a really hard job to do when you're playing with a groin or a quad strain. Lipsey's at his best just from hustle, toughness, getting on the floor, locking guys down, making the extra pass. And I'm not going to say that's not tough. Tamin Lipsey's toughness is one of one. And I just think it's a lot easier for Tamin to be Tamin at 60% than it is for Keshon to be Keshon at 60%. And that's where I'm not going to say it's going to help Iowa State because you'd rather have a guy that I think is one of the top 10, 15 guards in college basketball. But at the same time, if Gilbert was never going to be healthy, I think Iowa State's floor could be a little higher. That might sound crazy, but I do like if Gilbert's out there and he's hurt and the turnover problem continues and he has 7 or 8 turnovers in a game, that's how you get clipped by a lower seed. Like it just is. And maybe without Gilbert, that won't happen. But there's no doubt in my mind that the ceiling of this Iowa State team is lowered when you don't have Keshon Gilbert because of, 1, what he provides on the defensive end, and 2, just the high-level finishing that hasn't existed for this team since early January and December.
Yeah, and I don't think that's crazy to say at all. So, yeah, you're right. They're going to have to find a way just to get it done in this tournament.
All right, let's move on. Who's next? Arizona. Man, they got a tough draw. I think they are a 4 seed in Seattle. They're taking on Akron in the East region. What are your thoughts on Arizona's draw?
Yeah, it's not very favorable to me. Akron, I'll tell you what, is no pushover team at all. I mean, they're pretty good, and Arizona gets them round 1. And then maybe you get a matchup with an old Pac-12 rival in Oregon here in the second round. I mean, the Ducks have been playing better, but they did have a stretch not that long ago. I believe they lost like 5 out of 6 Big Ten games there, not too long ago. But the real problem, which is, Baylor's going to maybe have the same problem here, is playing Duke down the road at the Sweet 16. So I don't like Arizona's chance to make a very deep run in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm with you. Akron's a sneaky tough matchup because of their 3-point shooting. But I do think Arizona's ability on the boards will overpower them. Akron's not a great rebounding team, so I think Arizona will be in a close game. And there's also the Tommy Lloyd factor. Arizona has had some rough exits in March. I would imagine that he is more than aware of that and is going to do everything in his power to avoid that. I think they sneak past Akron. And then, yeah, Oregon's a good matchup. They're also not a great rebounding team or a great shooting team, and they come from the Big Ten, which my gut is typically pick against the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament. It's usually a pretty solid idea. I honestly think Liberty's going to beat them. And Liberty, that's a team that could give Arizona some problems. They don't turn the ball over. They shoot the lights out. They defend the three, and they just ugly the game up. I think Arizona gets to the Sweet 16 and then might lose in a blowout to Duke because we've already seen that matchup in Tucson, and it was ugly. Again, that was a different Arizona team, but I don't love their chances of advancing past the Sweet 16.
Agreed.
What are your expectations for them? What's considered a disappointment?
Yeah, Arizona's had kind of an up and down season. They didn't really end the regular season on a high note, but they did make a run all the way to the Big 12 title game in Kansas City last weekend. But when you get Duke on the same side of your bracket and the region, that's tough. The path to San Antonio for this team, or just the path to an Elite Eight for that matter, would have to go through the Blue Devils. And I know the whole Cooper Flagg injury will be something to monitor, but it looks like he's going to be ready to go. So, if Arizona doesn't make the Sweet 16, I think that would maybe be a little disappointing. But, if they lost opening weekend too, I think that would be considered really disappointing for everyone around that program. So, for me, I think they have to at least get out of the first round. I'm
with you. It's Sweet 16 or bust for me. And then if you get there, you hope you get one of Caleb Love's 7-11 from 3 nights. That's what it would take to beat Duke. And if you lose in the first or second round, the season was a disappointment. And man, what a bad draw.
Yeah.
What a bad draw for BYU. They get a 6 seed, one of the hottest teams in the country, going to Denver, but they got to play VCU, who, man, VCU has some athletes. They are long. This is a brutal draw. VCU was built in a lab to beat BYU. They defend the 3-ball at an elite level, one of the best in the country. They're so good on the offensive glass. BYU lives and dies by the 3, and you know the rule in March. If you live and die by the 3 in the NCAA tournament, it doesn't matter when, but it could come back to bite you at any point. Could be upset city for BYU.
Yeah, as far as this draw goes, I'm gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that they were gonna be higher than a 6 seed here.
I did too. I thought they were gonna be a 5.
I thought they were gonna be a 5. I thought they actually deserved a 5 after how they finished the season, but the committee did not think so. And no, this is not a favorable draw at all. I hate it. And BYU was a team I thought could make an insane run here. Maybe they still can, but damn, it's gonna be tough. VCU is a quality mid-major program that can give any team fits. Chris Hassel, I know he's seen that team in person. He's talked about how dangerous they are, and I believe it because they are a very solid team. Then maybe you get Wisconsin, who can go basket for basket with you. That would be an epic round 2 matchup, in my opinion. And then, oh, by the way, you might get Alabama after that. So no, it's going to be a really, really tough uphill battle for this BYU team.
And Aiden helped us out, just dropped this in the chat, that their seed dropped because they can't play Sundays. I always forget about that rule. And I know it came into effect last year too, and they were an early exit. I know they got knocked off as a 6 seed again last year. The good news for BYU is the metrics don't lie. They are still one of the best teams in college basketball over the last month. So if they hit threes at the level that they were for the majority of that stretch, they should still get past VCU. Even though it's a tough matchup, I think BYU would smoke any other 11 seed. One factor that I do like on their end is they're playing in Denver, so they're already used to the altitude. It's a pretty close location, so I do think they could have a couple built-in advantages there. If they're able to get past VCU, I do like their draw. I think the Wisconsin matchup's okay. That's probably a toss-up game. And then if you get to the Sweet 16, I need to see Alabama BYU that game would be incredible. It's pretty much BYU against BYU on steroids, and who knows if Grant Nelson will be good to go by then. So that could be a really fun matchup. We'll stay on the theme of what would be considered a disappointment for the Cougs.
I think getting balanced opening weekend, we saw a lot of potential with BYU, but sometimes you get the short end of the stick, and I think BYU got that with this selection here. Beating VCU is not going to be easy. Neither will be facing Wisconsin. If they lost in the second round, it would suck. But when you get a draw like this, man, it is what it is. I think you could, if you put this team in a different region, they can make a lot deeper of a run. But getting to the Sweet 16 will be really big, and I think that would be a success. And anything short of that, to me, would probably be considered disappointing. But nothing to hang their head with. Sometimes you just don't get the luck of the draw here.
With how they've been playing, I want to say anything short of the Sweet 16 is a disappointment, but it is still year one of the Kevin Young era. This program, is, no matter what happens, whether they get bounced by VCU or if they make an Elite Eight, this program is very bright. The future of this program is extremely bright. So I'll say getting bounced in the first round would be a disappointment, but no matter what happens, they are set up to have a lot of success in the next decade in this conference. I have no doubt in my mind.
For sure.
We got 2 more Big 12 teams left, and then we'll talk about a snub. But before that, I'd love to give a shout out to our friends at Iowa Corn. You want to hear a fun fact? Breaking news. Iowa is the #1 corn growing state. Who would have thought? Everybody thought that because Iowa is known for their corn. All they do at Iowa Corn is help ensure a strong future for farmers. They are looking for people to join the movement of shaping the future of Iowa agriculture, and you can sign up at iowacorn.org/join. And the Iowa Corn Growers Association, they're looking for members, and those members can help shape policies that will impact your farm all the way from the local fields to Washington, D.C. And, I mean, Iowa is literally run by corn. There's nothing more important in this state than corn. So if you're interested, again, you can join the movement at iowacorn.org/join.
I don't think I've had corn from Iowa yet. I need to change that. I need to change that.
Yeah, well, when were you here last year? June? May?
Late May.
Yeah, you gotta come in like mid to late July into August for prime sweet corn season. Like you can get good sweet corn at any point in the year in Iowa from the store, but you're never gonna taste corn as good as getting a couple bushels from the back of a truck in a small town. Oh my gosh. Shucking it out on the deck. Can we fast forward? No. I love March Madness. Is there any way we could have sweet corn season align with March Madness? That'd be cool. So awesome. No, I mean, did you know that only 1% of corn in Iowa is sweet corn?
No, I don't really know much about corn at all.
Yeah, it's almost all of it. I mean, it's either feeder corn for the animals, or it's going in your gas tank. So the more you know. Well, this has been. I just stole Aiden's Iowa trivia question.
There you go.
My bad, Aiden.
Corn, yes, corn.
Well, you know who has bad corn? The state of Kansas. Just pitiful. Just weak corn.
I can't say I've had corn from Kansas either, but
oh yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
Please don't. I want to do this podcast next year. I don't want you to die. Right. Kansas, for the first time in my lifetime, is a 7 seed. 7.
Oh,
I can't believe it. They're going to Providence to play Arkansas. What are your thoughts on the Jayhawks draw?
It's not a great draw. But what Kansas will draw is eyeballs, because you look at that damn first weekend matchup, Bill Self facing his old buddy John Calipari, who is now at Arkansas, then St. John's maybe in the second round with Rick Pitino. So Like this little section here of the bracket is full of some legendary coaches, and I'm here for it. So no, it's not favorable at all, but it will make for some damn good TV, in my opinion.
You're not going to find a pod with 3 better coaches. I can just guarantee it. You could make the argument that you have the 3 best current coaches in the sport all in that pod. Like, if we're doing a draft of, like, who do you want to build up your program for the future, John Calipari is not going in my top 10 or 15. But if you're just talking legacy, all-time coaches, Calipari is way up there. So that there is no doubt that there is prestige in this pod. I'm excited for this because all of these games are going to be ugly. The KU Arkansas game, 2 teams that mirror each other, really struggle on offense, really struggle to shoot the ball, but man, can they defend. And whoever gets past that, you're going to have to deal with the same team just on steroids in St. John's. They're maybe the best defensive team in the country, but again, they struggle to shoot. So I think you are getting some low-scoring, close games in both of these regions. And for that reason, I do like Kansas in their draw because I have no doubt that even though they're a similar team to Arkansas, I think they're a much more talented and better coached team than Arkansas. I'm taking Bill Self over Calipari any day of the week. And then St. John's really well coached by Pitino, but I don't know.
Not a believer.
I am a believer, and I love The Godfather. Don't get me wrong, but
Godfather.
I don't think there's this huge gap between those 2 rosters. So if it's a close game into the last 5 minutes, who knows? Maybe Kansas is making the Sweet 16. So I do like their draw. I would pick against it. I still think at this point I might pick it in my bracket anyways, but I think all things considered, this probably worked out the best it could if they were going to be a 7 seed.
Yeah, and I think St. John's is a soft 2. Like, I think that's a pretty good 2 there for if you had to place a 2 seed. I think that's a good one to play.
Yeah, and the Big East was weak this year. That's just a fact. It's traditionally the 2nd or 3rd best conference year in, year out. It just wasn't this year. So I'm really impressed by what Rick Pitino's done in just 2 years at St. John's. But this is not an unbeatable team by any stretch. So what would be a disappointment for Kansas?
Not getting out of the first weekend. I know Kansas is not the traditional Kansas team that we all know and love, but they are the Kansas name and logo. So some people out there are probably going to say Final Four or bust, but that's not who this team is. What this team is a misfit of pieces and a team who's been consistent at being inconsistent. And I said it on last week's show that I wouldn't be shocked to see this team make a Sweet 16, but I also wouldn't be shocked to see this team lose their first game. So it really is a mixed bag. And not getting out of the first weekend would be bad for Bill Self. But to be honest, again, it wouldn't shock me. Like, that's who this team has been all season long.
Again, I'm looking at this as a season-wide accomplishment. Anything less than a Sweet 16 is a disappointment for Kansas because they were the number 1 ranked team in the country heading into the year. They haven't made it out of the first weekend since they won the national championship in 2022. I think really no matter what happens, anything short of a Final Four or maybe an Elite Eight, this season will be viewed as a historic disappointment by Kansas fans. But if they want to have any redeeming qualities, any redeeming qualities to look back on this season at, if you can spoil a 2-seed season and get onto the Sweet 16, I think that's a bit of a silver lining. It's still probably a disappointment if you look at it from November 1st, number 1 in the country, to now as a 7 seed. But I think KU fans could be happy to play the role of I can't call Kansas Cinderella. I can't do it. It's like saying the Chiefs are underdogs. It just
Oh God,
you can't do it.
Let's not get that started.
But to see Kansas as the one trying to knock off the bigger seed, if they could be in that position once and do it, I'm sure their fans would be able to take pride in that.
That ranking seemed like a lifetime ago.
I know. That seems like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, it really does.
I feel like Kansas has had 4 seasons within their own season.
That's what happens.
But to their credit, I mean, Zeke Mayo has been playing really well as of late. KJ Adams has woke up since they lost back-to-back games in Utah to BYU in Utah. So I think they're playing their best basketball of the year right now, and they are capable of advancing. And we'll close with the final Big 12 team to get in the tournament, which I didn't expect to be the 7th team, which we'll get into in just a second. Baylor is headed to Raleigh as a 9 seed, and they'll play Mississippi State. That's a tough draw.
I know it's St. Patty's Day and Baylor wears green, which is good luck, but Scott Drew and this team did not get a single bit of luck at all with this draw. Like, they play Mississippi State game 1, which should be fun it will be fun, but then Duke looming there in round 2, and that's just not good at all for Baylor. Like, it is the shittiest draw in the Big 12, and I don't really think it's that close. Scott Drew should send the selection committee a literal bag of shit for the draw that they gave him.
Yeah, but they didn't really do anything this year to deserve a good draw. This is a really disappointing Baylor team, just way below the Scott Drew standard. I don't think we'll get to witness them try and upset Cooper Flagg, because I don't think they're going to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State is tough and big inside. That's a really tough matchup for Baylor. It's the type of team that gives them problems. I think they're one and done in the tournament, and I think unless they are able to upset Duke, I think this season is a massive disappointment in Waco.
Agreed.
I mean, they've won national championships, man. They're above a 9 seed. And Scott Drew would tell you that. The players would tell you that. Their fans would tell you that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if they don't get out of the first round here, at least against Mississippi State, that's just a complete disappointment. Like, nobody's going to fault this team for losing against Duke in round 2. Like, again, just a really bad draw for the Bears.
What are your thoughts on West Virginia's draw?
Well, it'd be nice if they even had a freaking draw, but they don't have one, thanks to North Carolina.
The last team out. So we'll give a little inside baseball on the show. So Derek and I were on the phone, would have been Sunday. Before the selection show, we were talking game plan on what we wanted to do for the rundown.
And what did I ask you?
I don't know. What did you ask me?
I said, do you think there's any team possible on the bubble?
Oh, yeah. And I said, no.
We both thought about it. We're like, no. I was like, maybe Cincinnati. And you were like, no, not Cincinnati. And I was like, yeah, I think that's the only team I can think of that would even be close to that bubble. And here we are talking about West Virginia being left out.
Word for word, I said, It's honestly a boring selection Sunday for the Big 12 because they don't have a team that's close to the bubble, and they don't have a team that's out that's close to the bubble. I couldn't have been more wrong. This was not on my radar. They were on bracketmatrix.com. 111 out of 111 brackets. They're the first team ever to be unanimously in all the bracketologists' brackets and get left out. The fact that the committee cited no Tucker DeVries as a reason is ridiculous.
Bullshit.
The Mountaineers still went into Fog Allen Fieldhouse and beat KU without DeVries, and they beat Iowa State with him. DeVries played the first 8 games of the season and didn't play again. The last time he played in a game was a day before Cam Scattaboo ran all over Iowa State and Arlington. That's how long ago. There's been so much basketball to be played since then. You can't use that as a reason to leave the team out of the tournament. But they lost their last game to Colorado. So if you just beat the worst team in the conference, seriously, that's all you have to do. If you beat the worst team in the conference, you're probably in. That doesn't excuse them being left out. Like 10-10 in the Big 12 should be in pretty much every single season unless you go winless in the non-conference. I don't want to see a 6-12 SEC team in ever again over a 10-10 Big 12 team. I think the Big 12 teams will prove that in the tournament, and this is just bad all around. Bad job by the committee. Bad.
Yeah, when I saw the Tucker DeVries narrative that by the committee, like the fact that they used that injury as one of the reasons why West Virginia got left out is just complete bullshit. It's not like the damn injury. You're right. It didn't just happen. He's been out for like 3 freaking months. And I know some people will bring up net rankings, but if you look at the quad records, North Carolina 1-12 in quad 1 games. How the hell do you get in with that? Meanwhile, West Virginia has 6 quad 1 wins. If West Virginia had North Carolina's resume and had 1 quad 1 win, this wouldn't even be a discussion. They would be left out, and the fact that the committee is also run by the UNC athletic director, Bubba Cunningham, makes this shit look even worse. Like, that slimy bastard did it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any conspiracy theory with the selection committee, but there is a reason. Like, these committee members spend a lot of hours together. They spend so many meetings together, so many days together, so much time together. And I would imagine they become friends if they're not already friends. And naturally, you're going to be biased towards, the committee chair, who's in charge of you. I don't think anyone in that room is like, well, Mark is from North Carolina, so I guess to make Mark happy, we better put his team in. I just think naturally you hang around and it would be hard to not let that influence your decision, which begs the question, why do we have athletic directors on this committee? It doesn't make any sense to me.
So stupid.
I don't know what the fix would be. Maybe just throw Ken Palm, like the real guy. I don't know if Bartorvik's a real guy. Throw the nerds in. I don't know.
Throw everybody in.
With all due respect to the nerds, let them do it. I don't know why we're having athletic directors who very clearly have like real money on the line and real incentives on the line. That feels like a really flawed system when you've got a 1 quad 1 team getting in over West Virginia.
It's bullshit. That's what it is. It's bullshit.
And it's good for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'm sure we'll have more to discuss on next week's show, potentially, about what that could mean for the future of West Virginia. But we'll save that for another day.
Your voice deserves to be heard. When Iowa corn farmers unite as members of the Iowa Corn Growers Association, we make a larger impact. At ICGA, we are dedicated to creating opportunities for growers like you, with a focus on long-term profitability for your farm. As a member, you have a voice in critical issues, starting at the grassroots level and extending to the federal level. Together, we are addressing policy priorities set by farmers, such as increasing demand for higher ethanol blends, expanding trade opportunities, and safeguarding essential tax credits. Your membership also grants you access to valuable news updates and exclusive events tailored specifically for our farmer members. We are stronger together. Become an ICGA member today, and let's build a more profitable future for all Iowa farmers. Don't wait any longer. Visit iowacorn.org/join to become an ICGA member today.
All right, so let's move on to the Iowa trivia question. We've still got a little bit left to go. This is a fun one. Aiden texted it to me. He's having a little technical issues over on his end. Derek, how many wins do the 4 schools in Iowa have in the NCAA tournament?
Combined, okay.
I don't have the answer yet, so I'm also going to guess, and then Aiden's going to text me if I'm right or wrong.
Oh, shit. Okay, let's go. Let's see here. I'm assuming most wins are going to come from Iowa State.
That'd be correct.
Followed by Drake and UNI.
Doing some mental math while you.
Yeah, I'm also trying to do some mental math here, and I'm not a very good math person. I'm going to go with 30 wins. I'm going to go 30 wins.
I'm going to go a little higher because I think Iowa State is probably right around like the 19 or 20 range by themselves.
Oh, maybe I should have went 35.
Maybe that's a little high. Maybe that's a little high. And then I know for a fact Iowa is going to have more. Iowa's probably closer to 25. I know Drake has 4 wins, 4, maybe 5 if you count the play-in game. and then UNI has been to a Sweet 16. I'm going to guess they've got 4 of their own. So if you do that math together, I'm going to go 54. And then Aiden's going to text me if I'm right.
We're way far apart.
I was closer. It's 65.
Oh, my God. I wasn't even close.
Did you even get halfway there?
No, I guess 30.
Whoops.
That's really bad.
Iowa's got 31 by themselves.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math in my head, and the math wasn't math.
Iowa State's got 23, so I was close there. All right, so we're going to move on to a game. We're going to do a little March Madness draft. When we planned this out, we were hoping to have 8 Big 12 teams. The committee, not only did they screw over West Virginia, they screwed over the Bigger Than 12 podcast. How dare they? How dare they? So the game, I'll explain it. We're going to do a coin flip. I'll pull it up on my phone, and I'll show it to you. And we're going to... Oh, never mind.
There we go.
Aiden's got the coin flip pulled up. So
the hamster got back on the wheel.
We're going to determine who goes first based off of the coin flip. That's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to do a snake draft, and then we're going to draft the 7 Big 12 teams, and we're going to throw Drake in the mix. And the way the scoring works is you get points based off of win per seed number. So, for example, if we'll take Utah State, a 10 seed. We're only drafting Big 12 schools, so we can't draft Utah State. If I were to take Utah State first and they advance to the Sweet 16, I get 20 points. If I were to take Duke and they go to the Final Four, that's 4 wins. You only get 4 points. So it's more fun than just picking who do you think is going to go the furthest. There's a little risk reward with the high seed numbers. So Aiden will flip the coin. Derek, you have the honors. Do you want heads or tails?
Give me tails. Tails never fails.
Except today.
Oh.
Because
it's
tails. Oh, it's heads!
No! How did that happen? Oh, God.
Aiden, I owe you. Thanks again for rigging it for me. So
was the committee behind that coin toss?
I probably should have done a big board before this. I'm kind of just going off the dome. So I think I'm down to 2. And I'm not going to tell you which 2 because I don't want to leave it up to risk for the next one.
I've got Mike Kuiper's big board ready.
I'm going to go with my safest pick that I think is going to make a deep run that isn't the stupid low seed. So I'm going to take Texas Tech.
Oh, damn it.
Number 1 overall as a 3 seed. So I get 3 points per Tech win. I do think that they make an Elite 8 or Final 4 run.
Damn, that was my pick. That was number 1 on my board here.
Oh, well, now you get 2 picks, so maybe you're at advantage.
I do. Man, we got some really tough draws in the Big 12. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to take Kansas. I'm going to pick Kansas. They get Arkansas right off the bat, winner of St. John's and Omaha. I could see them losing first game, don't get me wrong, but I could also see them making it to the second round. But as the 7 seed, I'm going to take that. So I'm going to get Kansas there. Oh, man, as far as anybody else, I think I'm going to take Iowa State here. I like the draw. They're the same path as Michigan State, who scares me a little bit, but I think that's a very winnable game against a 2 seed. Also in the same bracket there is Auburn, who they played earlier in the year, I believe. So I'm going to take Iowa State there. So I'm going to get Kansas and Iowa State as my back-to-back picks.
All right, so I took my safe one first. I'll admit it now. Kansas was who I was also deciding between.
We had the same top 2.
Yep, we had the same top 2. I hope you didn't forget about these guys. Drake is on the board. I'm taking Drake, the 11th seed. All it'll take is 1 win, and that could set me over the top to win.
It could
this game,
not guaranteed.
But it could also blow up in my face. And with that on the other end, this is not as safe of a pick, but it's also got really high upside. I'm going to take BYU. I still think the Cougs are one of the hottest teams in the country. 6 points per win. I think if they get past VCU, which again, big if, I think they could make a deep run and earn me a lot of points.
Oh, man.
And no, I don't have a decision left because I'll be left whatever team you decide not to take.
So I got back-to-back picks here.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going easier. I'm going to Arizona. I think it's Sweet 16. I think this team's capable of doing it. And I know Baylor. Baylor has a chance to win that first game against Mississippi State, but there's no chance in hell they're beating Duke. So I'm going to take Houston and just bank on them making it all the way to San Antonio. So I'm taking Houston.
Really? You're going to leave me Baylor?
I'm going to leave you Baylor.
So
I wanted to take them, but I was like, I just don't trust that team. I think they're going to get bounced round. I think they're going to get bounced opening game.
So I think this draft, this is probably going to be decided by Saturday morning. Like I don't like if Baylor, Drake, and BYU go 0-3, I am screwed. But if all of those teams win even one game, I'm in a good spot. So I finished with Texas Tech as the 3 seed, Drake as an 11, BYU 6, Baylor as a 9, and Derek has Kansas, Iowa State, Arizona, and Houston. Let's ride. This will be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
We'll keep the score updated throughout the weeks on the show. It'll be fun.
If hopefully everybody makes it out. If we have like a weekend where the Big 12 goes like 1-for-6 or 0-for-7, that would be just catastrophic.
Yeah, that would not be fun. So let's avoid that.
Let's avoid that. Yes.
All right. We'll do the random Big 12 basketball player. We'll see if Aiden's able to join. If not, Derek can just give me the clues and see if
there he is. There he's back. He's back. All right, you guys ready?
I think that coin flip tab was ruining my computer. I'm not even joking.
Jake had to have the coin flip. I was going to have you flip a coin on actual camera, but
that's what I thought it was going to be. But
Jake.
Oh, so you call me old-fashioned for printing a bracket? Now you want a real coin? I didn't even know they made coins anymore.
Oh, come on, man.
They discontinued the penny.
They still flip coins the NFL games. Every game, they still flip a coin. Super Bowl, still flip a coin.
I should have got one commission. One side is Jake, one side is Derek, the Super Bowl.
That'd have been pretty sweet. All right, you guys ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, I have a good one. It might be a little easy, but I have a good one. All right, you ready? This forward played just 2 seasons in the Big 12. Led his team in scoring, averaging over 14 points per game his freshman year. In his sophomore season, averaged 22.7 points per game and an insane 14.5 rebounds per game.
Oscar Tshiebwe.
Which led the Big 12. Jake, that's not it.
Oh man, that was a good guess.
Dang.
I have a couple other clues here if you want to.
Did he transfer? Or
yeah,
did he go to the league?
keep up the clues.
Nope. In his final season in the conference, he led his team to the Elite 8 and won National Player of the Year.
Marcus Fizer. Wait, no, he didn't average that many rebounds.
Jake, you're 0-for-2 right now. It's not looking good.
He didn't win National Player of the Year. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Is Jake in the right era?
No, I'm not.
It's not within the last 10 years.
It's not Bryant Reeves, is it?
Is it
country?
Jeff Withy?
He is mostly known for his dunking abilities.
Blake Griffin.
There you go. Finally.
There you go.
I'm not going to count. I don't know if I can count that one.
That doesn't count.
You guessed 3 guesses. Okay, so my thought process behind this was I was trying to find, for St. Patty's Day, I was trying to find a redhead.
Oh.
That was the only one I could think of in the Big 12 that would be really memorable. So I went with Blake Griffin from Oklahoma.
Man, I thought for sure I got that with Oscar Tshiebwe.
You were confident.
Like a clue and a half in.
Yeah. Blake Griffin on those
that's
Clippers teams and known for dunking.
I don't get any credit for that. Zero.
He's not playing anymore, but he is, I think, on the Red Lobster commercial. So
yeah, he's retired.
I don't know if anybody's eaten Red Lobster. I don't think so. But if you are, Blake Griffin, I think, is a spokesperson for Red Lobster.
All right, let's close the Big 12 tournament. As far as the games go, nothing crazy happened, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. What we are going to talk about is the question that really had been discussed all over social media over the weekend. A lot of outsiders are upset by attendance, by it favoring a few different schools. Derek, do you think the Big 12 tournament should be on a rotation to 3 or 4 cities?
No, personally, I don't. I feel like this is the Jerry World thing all over again with the Big 12 football championship game. Kansas City seems to have worked out for years prior to some of these new schools coming in. But with some of these new schools coming in, I don't think they understand what Kansas City means to the Big 12. You have the Power and Light District, and the city there bends over backwards for this tournament. And I have been to Kansas City. In fact, I'm going to be there in a couple weeks when I'm on my way to Iowa. And I can honestly say it's one of the most underrated cities in all of America to me.
Oh, it's awesome.
Great food, great beer. The downtown area, absolutely beautiful. My only issue with the Big 12 in Kansas City is not really much of an issue, maybe to some, but they need to move the women's tournament back to the same weekend to me as the men's, because I think you're going to see better attendance overall for that, for both sides. Like, sure, the Big 12 can do Orlando, Vegas, Dallas, wherever, but where those cities care more about the Big 12 than Kansas City, like, I highly doubt it. Kansas City, the most centralized city in the country, perfect for the Big 12. And I can't imagine a world where the Big 12 basketball tournament isn't in Kansas City. If you haven't been there before, I highly recommend going and seeing what it's like for yourself. And I think if you go, you'll understand why everybody likes it so much.
So one of the main reasons that I've seen is, well, what else is there to do in Kansas City? What else could you want to do in Kansas City? Why else would you go to the Big 12 tournament than to go and do anything other than watch basketball? It is ridiculous. This should be in Dallas so we can go do what? Go to a shopping mall? Like, what are we doing here, man? It's ridiculous. The tournament, I know it was a different era. It's been tried out in Oklahoma City. It's been tried in Dallas. It hasn't worked as well as it has in Kansas City. In fact, there's been no conference tournament in America that has worked as well as the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. Don't change that. It's central to everybody. I know it's unfair for Arizona. I'm sorry. I know it's somewhat unfair for Cincinnati. Get over yourselves. It's a cheap flight. It's a shortish drive from Cincinnati. Like, do you expect it to move to Cleveland to appease the Bearcats in West Virginia? Do you expect it to move to Atlanta to appease UCF?
Be the last place.
I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's the middle of America, and that's how it has to be. Go one weekend, and you'll never go back. As far as, you will go back. I didn't mean it like that. Like, you will never go back to having a spring break trip in Florida or Arizona. Your spring break trip will become Kansas City because the Power and Light District combined with the basketball atmosphere is the best in America. And am I biased? Yeah. But what I do know is Iowa State fans travel well regardless. And although there's no location that would be the same as Kansas City, I still think Iowa State and KU fans would take over Oklahoma City, for example. I think they would take over Dallas like we saw in the Big 12 football championship. It just, I get the idea of a rotation to be fair for everybody, but at the end of the day, the Big 12 needs an identity, and this tournament is known because of Kansas City. It's known because of the atmospheres that we've had when Iowa State plays KU in a championship, or when Iowa State sells out 15,000 seats because it's them against West Virginia, or when KU is able to sell out the arena. It's one of the best atmospheres in sports, and I don't think that should go away just to appease a couple schools that are not that close to Kansas City.
No, I agree. I've got the opportunity to spend a couple days in Kansas City. I think about 2 years ago, I spent like 5 days there, and there was so much to do. Had a blast. It's a great city. It really is.
Oh, but where's the beach? I'm sorry. Arizona fans, Arizona journalists, this ain't the Pac-12 anymore, buddy. It's just not. The fans in this conference go to games that they don't have 100,000-seat stadiums like UCLA and fill 20% of it. It just doesn't happen here, man. If you want to fit in, you better be traveling. Come and taste the Midwest. I promise you'll like it. That's all I'll say on that.
No, that's good. I look forward to eating some ribs at Joe's next time I go up there. So good.
That sounds so good. Sounds so good. Thanks for bringing it up. All right.
You're welcome.
We got it. We got to get out of here. This has been a long show. Aiden has worked like a 17-hour day, I'm pretty sure, and then he's got to be up.
Show number 8 today, folks.
Dang. Him and I both have to be up in 7 hours.
God.
We have an important work meeting in the morning. The Chicago Cubs.
That is so dumb.
Dude.
That is so dumb. Don't get me started.
It's America's team. America's team playing in Japan. It's must-see TV. Aiden and I will be up 5 in the morning watching the Cubbies on TV. Like, it'll be awesome. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't get to experience that joy, Derek, but maybe our listeners will enjoy making it all the way to the end of this show. Hopefully. I really hope so. But thank you to everybody who listened. Thanks to everyone who supports. Thanks to everyone who goes and supports our sponsors, because that's how we're able to do what we do here at Iowa Everywhere. Thank you so much for tuning into Bigger Than 12. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave a review, and tune in to Bigger Than 12 every week here on Iowa Everywhere.